Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney on this channel. I answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answer they need from an employment attorney. Don't forget to go check out yesterday's video. We're doing a brainstorming session channel-wide, trying to answer all your questions about having frank settlement discussions with your counsel, your attorney. That's a huge pain point in this field, and we want to address people's concerns, their questions. I think that series of videos, that playlist we're putting together, is going to be huge. So we desperately want your questions and concerns so we can address them. We can make videos to answer them. But right now, we're answering a question for InHD Films, or INHD Films, who asked a question, I think, a couple of days ago or a week or so ago about mediation, and we are answering another question now. Let's get to it. InHD Films says, hey, it's me again. I have one more question for you. I just received an email from the mediator telling me what my mediation date will be, and he ended his email with, I am more than willing to relay a demand to settle this charge in advance of the mediation date. My question to you is that a good is that a good idea? I believe it gives the other side a chance to run after hearing the demand before I can speak with them. What do you think? I mean, fundamentally I agree, but let's give it some extra. So, a lot of people will schedule a mediation and then extend a demand that just doesn't make sense. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but a lot of times extending that demand that doesn't make sense saves everyone a lot of time, right? I've had this conversation with a bunch of clients, right? Like, I'll talk with a client, and the client will hire us, and even before the client hires us, they'll be like, listen, I think you should open with a demand of, like, just hypothetically, $800,000, right? And the client will be like, okay, that sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. And they'll retain us, we'll get moving, we'll get the case moving, the other side will come to the table and like, hey, let's do a mediation. And the client will be like, great, I smell blood in the water. They're weak. They want to mediate. I'm like, well, they're respecting your claim. They do want to settle with you. Clearly, they want to have a discussion about settling with you. You know, we should potentially go. Listen to people talk about giving you money, even if they're not going to give you the amount that you want. That has value. And a lot of times the client will say, yeah, absolutely. Raise that demand to 30 mil. What? I mean, that would have taken you... like, you wouldn't have lived long enough to earn that much money. Like, your economic damages couldn't get to 30 mil in, like, 250 years. Whatever it is, right? Just picking random numbers. So that's probably not going to fly. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, it's all emotional. So I'm like, well, that's not... Emotionals are not an endless bucket of damages, right? Like, that is not an infinite source of damages. That's probably not going to work out for you. You're asking for more than you can reasonably win at trial. And they'll say, I don't care, make the demand. Fair enough, but the other side is going to cancel this mediation because you're wasting everyone's time. You make the demand, the other side's like, oh yeah, that's pointless. We're not going to... You can't win that much, so why would we talk about giving you that much? That doesn't make any sense. And that stinks because you've lost the opportunity to have a conversation about what they would give you. Not that you would take it, but at least you know where they stand. You learn a whole bunch. I think that's valuable. Now, do I think... This is going to sound a little belligerent, and I don't mean it to. Do I think that you're going to go into the mediation and be so eloquent that they're going to change their whole perspective on settlement? I don't. It's not because you're not eloquent. I'm sure you're fantastically eloquent. Listen, I don't know if the gentleman in your user profile is you, but listen, you are a handsome fella. I can imagine you having one hell of a stage presence. I think you could crush that mediation, right? Doesn't matter. They know what they did, right? They know what they did. You might have some extra juice, a little extra evidence to scare them. You might have a good presentation, but they know what they did, probably. Right? So are they fundamentally going to just lose their minds at your presentation at mediation and say, well, we would have canceled this mediation if you demanded this before, but in light of your presentation, we better just give you the money. Probably not. Probably not, right? Which is just two completely different ways to look at this, right? One, you don't want to lose the mediation because it's a valuable conversation. You learn a lot, right? And I agree with you don't want to lose the mediation. Two, the idea that you're gonna, it's like if you're a salesperson, right? Can you do a really good sales presentation and sell something for an extra couple of grand? Sure. Can you do a really good presentation of your claim and tack on 10, 20, 30, maybe even whatever it is, extra dollars? Sure, yeah. But if the difference is that they're thinking of this as a $50,000 case and you're thinking of this as a $500,000 case, you're not going to span that gap. Your presentation is not going to get you there. You might eventually get there. I'm not speaking to your ability to get them there in the long run through litigation, but I am saying in that mediation, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to go from 50K to 500K in one mediation. So I think really my perspective on this is if your demand is correctly calculated, like if you think your demand, maybe you use the damages calculation playlist we provided, or you've spoken with some counsel or whatever, or you've just done your research and you've calculated your demand correctly, and you hedge it for risk a little bit, right? Like you're like, okay, if I run this case 10 times, I think I win 7, right? If I remember correctly, you're very confident about your case. So maybe you believe you win 7, maybe you even believe you win 8 out of 10 times. Great. Have you then hedged for risk on what you could hope to win at trial in terms of your settlement demand? At that point, if that's the demand that you're presenting, I don't think they'll schedule. I don't think they'll cancel their mediation. I think they'll just go to mediation, and they'll try. If your demand is instead, you think you're going to win 7 or 8. Let's even go a little further. Let's say you've decided your evidence is so good you would win 10 out of 10 times. You would. It is unthinkable that you could lose your trial. So why hedge for risk at all? And you know that a bunch of attorneys have resources online about how to calculate damages, but they're wrong. Your case is worth more. If that's the demand, it's not hedged for risk, and it's not calculated as per the formulas that govern damages in this field, there's a good chance they're going to cancel that mediation if you extend that demand for the EEOC mediator before mediation, right? But here's the last point I'll make. I'm talking around this. I understand I'm talking around this, but I'm trying to give you a full discussion because I don't know the specifics of your situation. I know that you like your case a lot. You're very savvy. You have a high understanding based on our interactions, just on comments on YouTube. You have a high understanding of the field and negotiations in general. So I'm trying to give you the full circle, right? The full talk around on this topic. If that's your demand and you make it, there's a very high chance they cancel mediation. But by the same token, if that's your demand, it's not hedged for risk, it's not calculated correctly under the laws that govern damages in this field, and you make the demand at the opening of mediation, they're just going to counter with like $2,500 or $5,000. You're going to say no, or you're going to move like $5,000, and they'll probably just be like, this is a waste of time. Let's go. And everyone's just wasted an hour. That's fine. And you may even learn something in that hour, but you're not going to learn as much as you could have hoped to learn in a longer, more drawn-out mediation where you actually engage in some good faith negotiation, right? That's a different story. And in closing, in HD Films, I think you asked great questions. I think you posing your questions here, I hope it has value for you. But the questions you're posing, I think helps a lot of people, and I appreciate that. I hope you keep posting, and I hope this was useful. I remember that I'm not often when I'm not talking just for you, right? There's things I said today in this video that I don't think apply to you. As I've noted, you seem like you really get it, right? But as much as I'm making the video for you, I'm also making the video for the 10,000 people that might find it in the next, half a decade, whatever it is. Some of our videos do a lot better than others. And those people, they're not necessarily going to be you in a variety of ways. Some of them may fall a little short of your skill set in this area, right? So often I'm saying things that I hope don't offend you. They probably also don't apply to you, right? They're for the person who's coming in and is like, I'm going to get 30 million. Oh, yeah. And that person needs to hear, yeah, they're just going to cancel that mediation. Nobody is interested in your silly demand, But that's not you. Anyways, I hope you ask more questions. I hope we can, go on this process with you, especially because you're smart. You're not doing any identifying characteristics about your case, so it's safe for you. So, one, I really hope you get paid, and two, I hope you get more questions from you. I'm going to keep an eye out for them. Like, subscribe, comment down below. It helps our channel to grow. Share the channel. Sharing the channel is the biggest thing you can do, frankly. Yeah, we're now, I believe YouTube my plaque is on the way. My 100,000 subscriber plaque. So I'm very excited about that. Take care, everybody.